Hello, everyone. This commander has been awaited like no other, and finally the moment has come. Tzu Prime is coming to the game. Rumors about his arrival have been circulating for years, and now it's finally happening. Today we're talking about his skills, possible pairings, and whether this long wait was actually worth it. First skill, fluid formation. Target type, single sounds depressing right away, but don't rush to get upset. Rage requirement, 900. And that's great. It means we'll have good damage tempo. This commander's troop immediately gains the military sage effect for 5 seconds and deals smite damage to target troops. Damage factor 3000. Okay, the same damage factor 3000 was also on Gong Gom Chan, but what exactly is the military sage effect? Military sage. When dealing smite damage to enemy troops, this commander's troop also deals 20% of this smite damage as fixed true damage to up to 2 enemy troops in a fan. This effect can be triggered up to 1 time per second. Lilith really loves to overcomplicate skill descriptions, so let's break it down. This commander's troop immediately gains the military sage effect for 5 seconds. Usually, activation happens on the next turn, but here it says immediately, so let's assume it triggers on the same turn, exactly as written. That means when Sun Tzu hits with his skill, we also deal 20% of this smite damage as fixed true damage to up to 2 enemy troops in a fan. So that's an extra damage factor 600 to 2 targets, but it's important to note that this is fixed true damage. We already saw this with Shajar, but with some differences. In addition to ignoring the attacking troop's attack and the defending troop's defense, fixed true damage calculation is also not affected by any buff or debuff effects. So now it's also not affected by any buff or debuff effects. Honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about fixed true damage yet. I don't really like it so far, and I think this damage factor 600 is not the same as what we would get from smite damage, meaning the actual damage will be lower. Also, apparently this will work for the second commander as well. Lilith showed us a Sun Tzu, William Wallace pairing in the video, so let's calculate the damage factor with him, but I'll use the expert skill values of Sun Tzu, since expertise just boosts the first skill. Now it's 30% of this smite damage as fixed true damage. So Sun Tzu hits with his skill for damage factor 3000, and on the same turn we hit 2 targets for 30%, which is damage factor 1800. Then on the next turn, William Wallace uses his skill, after which we again hit 2 targets for 30%. That's damage factor 1440. On the following turn, the deals extra smite damage. That's another damage factor 180. In total, we get damage factor 6420. That's impressive. We have something similar with Bai Chi. And most importantly, moving on, the second skill. Infantry units gain 25% march speed. Great, that's 5% more than infantry usually gets. Infantry always suffers from low speed, and Sun Tzu is really good in this regard. If this commander is in a field troop, their infantry units gain 20% health, 30% attack. And this is also amazing. Attack and health are exactly what we love. Perfect balance. Third skill. If this commander is in a field troop, infantry units gain 20% defense. Okay, solid. If the military sage effect is active, this commander's troop deals 10% more smite damage. Also very good. More damage. I like that. If you didn't catch it, this refers to when the 5-second military sage effect from the first skill is active. Has a 50% chance of dealing an instance of smite damage for every basic attack, damage factor 400. This effect can be triggered up to once every 3 seconds. Once again, we get even more damage. Amazing. If we're lucky, this can trigger twice during those 5 seconds while military sage is active. And on top of that, this smite damage can trigger the 30% fixed true damage from the first skill, if it hasn't already happened this turn. This is exactly what I meant when I said the damage factor story with Sun Tzu isn't finished yet. Let's not draw mountains and assume a pretty bad scenario where this skill gives us only damage factor 400. That brings Sun Tzu's total damage factor to 6,820 already, and it can be even higher in certain situations. But even like this, it's a lot. We haven't even read the fourth skill yet, and I'm already completely impressed. Fourth skill. This commander's troop takes 10% less damage. Good. Gains 20 extra rage for every one enemy troop that takes fixed true damage from the military sage effect. I'm tired of repeating this, but it's amazing. If you haven't realized yet, we'll be hitting fixed true damage at least 3 to 4 times, which means 6 to 8 targets. That's an extra 120 to 160 rage. This reminds me of a horn, and this still isn't everything. Has a 100% chance to deal 2% more damage for the next 5 seconds whenever gaining rage from the myriad maneuvers effect. This effect can stack up to 5 times, and its duration resets whenever it gains another stack. Basically, once we stack this up, we'll be dealing 10% more damage permanently. I have no words. Literally, every skill gives us something that lets us deal even more damage. Expertise skill. It boosts the first skill, and the only change is 30% of this smite damage as fixed true damage. A fairly weak expertise, but all 4 of his skills are absolutely amazing, and we'll want to expertise him anyway. Let's summarize. Honestly, my first impression of Tzu Prime is that he's broken. He clearly has huge damage, rage generation, and rage requirement, 900, which gives him very solid damage tempo. Yes, he's not Qin Shi. There's no instant burst right at the start of the fight. Tzu Prime is more measured in that sense, but he's still extremely strong, and I'd say he's the best commander after Qin Shi. As for pairings for Tzu Prime, there are many good options. Bai Qi, Liu Che, but I'll probably agree with the developers that William Wallace is a strong choice. If we look at his third skill, we see whenever this commander's troop deals smite damage with a damage factor greater than 1,000, there is an 80% chance that the damage will be increased by 40%. The problem is that this only works on one target, which is why William Wallace wasn't a great pairing for Bai Qi or Liu Che. Only 1 out of 5 targets gets the buff. But Tzu Prime is a single-target damage commander, and a 40% damage boost on his damage factor, 3,000 to 1 target, works perfectly. We can also mention his first skill, where fixed true damage will be triggered in 2 cases. The only issue is that not everyone has William Wallace. For example, I don't have him. In any case, we need to wait until Tzu Prime actually arrives in the game, then test things out and decide who to pair him with. But one thing is certain, he's absolutely worth investing in. I hope this video was useful for you. Thanks for watching.